Hello everyone, Tess Thomas here again from Clay County Historical and Arts Council. Welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One with Clay County. Today we're in Shooting Creek, North Carolina with Mr. Bob Rogers. Mr. Rogers, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you. I'm also going to start off with if you can tell us how your family arrived in Clay County.
My great-granddad was born in 1810, and he arrived in this area of Clay County, which was then part of Cherokee and Macon County, in about the year 1838, 35, 38, in that range, when the Indians were being removed to Oklahoma. And he acquired almost, by the county records, almost 1,000 acres of the area, which is primarily woods, forest, and it ended up with large families being broken up, and over a period of time, my dad ended up with, Neil Lynn Rogers ended up with 50 plus acres. Of the approximately 1,000 acres, I had uncles and aunts that lived all around this area because that was all part of the original tract. And I was fortunate to purchase 40-some acres of the original property from my siblings. We came to an agreement of the price, and I purchased that property in 1998 and built this house that we currently live in 2000 under the supervision of an older brother who was a pharmacist, but was involved in some building as a sideline, and retired in 2006 from after 40 plus years in the automobile business in Atlanta.
Well, let's back up a little bit. So your great-grandfather had the original 1,000-acre tract, and then your grandparents, what were their names and what did they do?
Nelson, Rogers, and Hasseltine.
Oh, that's pretty.
And they had 11 children.
Oh my gosh. And
my dad was next to the youngest of those children.
And what was your father's name?
Neil N. Rogers. And he was born in 1854 and passed away in 1941.
Wow.
And my grandmother, Hasseltine, she was at Kitchens. And her father, was killed during the Civil War by the Home Guard in 1864.
Can you tell me what the Home Guard is?
It was primarily a group of course, men who sought out those who were sympathetic to the Union. And of course, the Union was involved in freeing the slaves.
Right.
There were very few slaves in this area, but there were some. I know my grandfather, my great-grandfather, who was killed in the Civil War, did have a young black man with him when he was shot in the higher elevations of the mountain, about 3 miles on that ridge line.
Oh, wow.
So, getting off a little
No,
bit.
that's fine. And so then your father, what was your father's name?
My father, Neil N. Rogers.
Neil N. And what did he do?
He primarily farmed in the early years of his marriage to my mother, Nettie, and he acquired the Shooting Creek Post Office in probably 1935, about the year I was born, as a result of illness from the postman, Carrie Tiger, becoming incapacitated and could no longer do the work. And he had the post office, Shooting Creek Post Office, up until, I want to say, about 1955, in that range.
That's amazing. I didn't realize, I don't think I'd realized there was a Shooting Creek post office. And what happened to it? It just got transferred to
They
Hayesville?
made a move to close the outlying post offices throughout the county. I guess transportation being much more readily available for the delivery from a central point, and that being Hayesville.
Right.
And there was only one, I think, outlying post office that still exists today, and that's in the Brasstown area of Clay County.
Right. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I was in the middle of 9.
The middle of 9.
Had a daughter,
Big families.
a sister, oldest sister, 5 boys, and then 3 more girls.
Oh, wow. The families were so much bigger back then, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was a means of survival because all of it was related to
The farming.
farming.
And having help on the farm? Yeah.
Because there was no industry to speak of.
Wow. What did your family grow, your parents? What kind of farming did you do? Corn
Well,
or?
we had large corn crops, large gardens because of the size of the families.
Sure.
But probably cattle. You generally had, depending on the size of the farm and the lay of land, pastures.
Sure.
Usually 15 to 20.
Okay.
And all the milk was from the herd, the cattle, and
You
you
have
know,
any chickens or any other?
chickens. Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
had chickens and hogs.
Wow.
And so we had the full gamut of food to eat,
Sure.
other than
You got the meat,
flour,
the dairy.
salt, and pepper. You might say it was about the only coffee, of
That
course,
you had to purchase.
we needed from the local grocery store.
And so there was a local grocery store back then.
Yes, my dad did have a grocery store, which he acquired in the early, I want to say the late 40s, maybe in the early 50s. And of course, that was part of the income that helped to raise the family,
Right.
in addition to the post office.
So what did you guys do as a kid? I mean, when you were done working on the farm, what did you do for fun?
Well, during the course in the summer months, you know, there was always a chore.
Sure.
Milking the cows, usually tending the corn was because this field, all of this field here in front of the house was corn,
Oh, wow.
approximately 10 acres. And there was a lot to do in gardening and all the other wood. We had wood burning stoves.
Right.
And, we didn't have electricity until 1939. And then the war came along and we had fireplaces, but acquired heaters after World War II because of the metal being a scarcity in World War II.
Right.
There were no indoor facilities,
You had outhouses.
outhouses.
Yeah. In your travels in life. Left here, you said, to go up north because there was no industry.
Well, I only spent 1 year north, primarily in the Michigan area. But when that job, I was terminated or laid off, as we say, I came back home and helped my dad fence in all the property, build a barn, and chose to go into the Air Force in hopes of becoming a pilot.
How old were you then?
I would have been almost 19.
And so you said in hopes of becoming a pilot.
Yes, I enlisted in the Air Force in hopes of becoming a pilot. I didn't have a means to travel to Andrews, which was the closest airport for any training. So I was in hopes that was before the academy, 54.
Okay.
was built. But anyhow, Uncle Sam had other ideas. I did well on the entrance, the testing in mathematics, and they chose training for deciphering codes.
Oh, wow.
So I worked for 3 years in Germany as a cryptanalyst. There were 3 of us, a Russian linguist and a traffic analyst. And the traffic analyst received the written communications, codes, and so forth.
And then you decoded
And the
it?
the Russian linguist monitored the communications. Well, we monitored all the communications, air to air, air to ground, ground to air, and so forth. And
Interesting.
I ended up dealing with the codes. And the codes I couldn't break were sent to NSA in Washington.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. Very interesting. So, and then how many years did you stay in the Air Force?
I was in 4 years. 3 of those years were in Germany. And we monitored what was called at that time, the 13th Russian Air Force, which was headquartered in Murmansk, above the Arctic Circle.
Wow.
It was a warm water port, but anyhow, that was the headquarters. I'm not speaking out of terms of classification because
Sure.
it's over 50 years old. It was a great time to be in Germany,
Yeah.
55 through 58.
It's a beautiful country.
I enjoyed it. I traveled in 12 countries. I had
Wow.
plenty of time to do it, and anyhow, it worked out well.
And so then when did you come home?
Came home in 58, went to work for Delta Airlines for 2 years, had the GI Bill, and decided to go to Young Harris, which was near the home where I was raised. I was being considered a day student. And it was a 2-year school at that time, and I graduated in 62 and went over to Western Carolina in that year and graduated in 64. I was over there 2 years and went back to Atlanta, and I actually was enrolled in the School of Theology at Emory University,
That's interesting.
and to pay my tuition for the final 2 years I was there, I chose a part-time job in selling automobiles, and it became an interest, so I ended up in the automobile business, primarily in fleet and commercial sales
So who did you start working for?
for Lee Park Chevrolet in Decatur, Georgia,
Okay. Okay.
suburb of Atlanta.
Right?
And was promoted I was in retail sales for 5 years, and then went into new car manager for 5 years, and then fleet and commercial sales for 32 years.
Oh, wow.
So I retired at age 72 in 2000.
Well, somewhere in here you met your beautiful wife. How long have you known her?
She was living in a dorm where I lived while I was in school at Emory, in an upstairs. She was in an upstairs apartment, and I was on the ground level.
And
Anyhow,
what's her name?
Charlotte Elizabeth. She was a pediatric nurse
Oh,
at the
nice.
Children's Hospital.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I heard there were 2 pretty girls in this particular room, so I knocked on the door, and I chose her,
Oh,
and we became wives.
and she chose you also, obviously.
Well, yes.
That's wonderful. And so how long did you date before you got married?
About 2 years, I guess. 2 years, yeah.
And what year was it you got married in?
70.
1970?
May 30, 70.
Wow.
5/30.
What a wonderful long history
Yeah.
you've got together. And you have children?
We have 2 children surviving, a son who was a singer and had a contract with Sony Columbia Records for
Really?
about 2.5, 3 years.
What's his name?
Eric
Rogers?
Rogers.
I'm gonna have to look up some of his music.
Well, okay, I'll give you the line,
Okay.
that you can look it up.
Wonderful. And you had another child still surviving?
And I have a son in Gainesville who is in the Northeast Georgia Medical Center.
And his name?
Ethan, and
Ethan?
he's an emergency room doctor.
Oh, wow, we need those.
Anyhow.
That's amazing. And so, once the kids left the coop, say, so to speak, you had the empty nest, what do you guys fill your time with?
Well, fortunately, I had a younger brother who developed property in this area of the county, and we spent our weekends. We built a house on Lake Chateau shoreline,
Nice.
and we spent our weekends up here with the kids.
Nice.
You mean after the kids left?
Sure, but you can tell me anything you'd
Well,
like about
I
the
continued.
kids growing up,
I
sure.
continued working until 2006.
Okay.
So they had already left,
And your wife was a pediatric nurse until how long?
yeah, and she retired after the children came along.
What do you do to fill your days now?
What do I do now?
Yeah, what do you have, hobbies?
I do a
or-
lot of volunteer work.
Oh yeah, where at?
I do Meals on Wheels.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and I do this area of Clay County.
That's great.
It range 12 to 15, 16 folks that are up in years,
Yeah.
obviously, and I enjoy getting acquainted with them and having a brief conversation, and anyhow, it's one of those things I've enjoyed doing,
Right.
and
Well, that's rewarding work too.
yeah, I've been involved in the library, and also do litter control and lakeshore line pickup. It's just odds and ends that people are involved in, and some of the other local groups that are involved in, the activity that goes on the square or wherever. They need someone, so.
Right. Yeah, and there's a lot of areas that can use some volunteer work around here. So I appreciate that, and I want to tell you I appreciate your service in the Air Force. I appreciate that. Without our veterans, I don't know where we would be.
Well, I missed the wars. I was born in a good time, I guess you could say.
Right.
Classed as a Korean War veteran, because I enlisted, volunteered rather, before they'd worked out all the details, but.
Your service was basically during peacetime.
It was, yeah, 54 to 58 was peacetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Vietnam War had started. I was in the reserves during the early stages of that conflict, but I was never called up.
Thankfully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, this has been very interesting. Is there some more stories you want to talk about? Any fun things you did as a kid, or anything else you want to talk about today and share with us?
Well, I think I'm pretty well cleared it. There are 4 of the 9 children, my siblings, surviving. One, a 96-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Who lives nearby.
That's good.
He was a career Navy, 20 plus years in the Navy.
And his name?
Harry.
Harry.
And he covered World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Wow.
In his transporting supplies to various military bases throughout the world.
And then, what are the other 2 siblings?
Yes, I had my older brother, just older than I, was in the Navy, Korean War. A younger brother was in the Army. He missed the conflicts. And then I mentioned the older brother.
Yeah, and then these 2 brothers, the one just older than you and one younger, what are their names?
Older, Ray Rogers.
Ray.
William Ray.
Okay.
He was a pharmacist here in the area.
Oh, nice.
In Hayesville.
Okay.
40 plus years.
Wow.
Younger brother was he passed away also at a young age. And he was in the Army.
So a lot of veterans in your family.
Yeah, all four of us. And my fourth brother rather,
Right.
would have been in the, he was disappointed. He was classed as 4F due to a heart rheumatic fever when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And it enlarged heart, so he
So they wouldn't allow him
came
to serve.
home disappointed
Sure.
that his buddies
Right.
were.
I can't even imagine how that would feel when you feel it, you know, the call to go and serve and then not be able to. That had to have been very disappointing for you. So.
I remember the expression on his face.
Right?
When he came home to tell mom and dad he wouldn't be going in the military.
Oh. Yeah.
Things like that make a
Big impact. Yeah, lasting impression. Wow. I want to thank you today, Mr. Rogers, for sharing your story with us and your history in Clay County. We really appreciate it here at the Clay County Historical and Arts Council. If you or anyone you know would like to participate in our one-on-one with Clay County History series, please don't hesitate to email me at cchacHazeville@outlook.com. Make sure you find us on our 4 social media platforms, which is Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And then please visit us on our website for several things. We have our membership and volunteering. We have the Botanical Garden. We have the Old Jail Museum. We have artist spotlights. And we have this series. So please see our website. And that is clayhistoryartsnc.org. And I want to thank you all for tuning in today. And we'll see you at the next one. Thanks.